What's happening? Hey, as you can see, it's a little different show today. We are out here, out in the wind, so we apologize if there is too much
little
wind.
back noise, little windage.
Windage going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're out here, as you can probably see.
We came out here just to do a little shooting. It's been over a year since I think we've been out in the desert, just shooting rounds. We decided we'd spend the day today since I'm not working, Jay's not working today. We figured we'd spend the day out here. We had some breakfast. You guys that watch the show know that we love a good meal.
Love to eat.
And then we figured we'd come out here and do a little shooting. And what we're going to talk about today is your right to protect yourself or your home. And do we have that right as American citizens and as property owners? Do we have that right to do?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll be talking about it. We'll be shooting at the same time. So you'll hear us going in and out. I'll be muting my mic. I have to shoot. He'll mute his if he has to shoot. But the purpose of this is just we're going to talk about your right to defend your property and protect your family. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Let's do this. All right, so like Joel was talking about, this is going to be an episode on your right to defend yourself in your own home and the 2A.
Yeah.
So basically everything that's encompassed in our Constitution and honestly the Bill of Rights and everything else that allows us.
And local laws.
And local laws, yeah. So please, we'll put a disclaimer out here. We live in the state of Arizona where, I don't know if you can hear, but there's other people shooting around us too. You can come out into any open land as long as you're a mile plus from structures and things like that. So your local and state laws are going to vary extremely differently.
Yeah.
And
here in Arizona, same as in Florida, I believe, you have your stand your ground law. So
correct.
We don't have to retreat into our homes. We could protect our homes, right? So, and that's our right. And of course, the state of Arizona extended that right to all the citizens to be able to defend your home and not have to run and retrieve yourself into your home. As long as in your property, you give them fair warning and you're in fear of your life, you have every right to protect that property.
Correct.
So I don't know. I think it's a great law to have. And I think that, do we have people who kind of take that one step further? Yes, right. You can't, it's not like you could booby trap your house because that's against the law, right? Because if you're not there, you're not present, there's clearly no harm to you or your family. And the property in and itself doesn't need protecting because you're not in it. Most of the time protecting your property means because you're dwelling in it.
Right.
But if you're not in it, you can't just sit there and set up a shotgun tripwire and shoot someone's coming through the window.
Right.
So I don't know. I think these laws are great and I think it's good. But again, one of the things that we want to stress is that, or that we want to talk about today is like, how far is that right? Like, what can you do? What should you do? Morally, what is correct? As Christians, what should we do? Clearly, the Bible talks about loving your neighbors and things like that.
Exactly.
But you also have to defend yourself in certain things, right? And when you got a little guy like myself, and you got multiple intruders coming into your house, legitimately, will you be successful in that fight if it's just a straight-on fight?
Right.
Probably not. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, and part of that goes back to the whole thing with, right now there's a lot of controversy over...
Don't mind me. I'm going to get out here real quick.
Yeah. There's a lot of controversy over women in, men in women's sports. There's a lot of controversy in that. And one of the big things is that it's not that women can't do just as much or more than a man can in certain aspects. There is a physical aspect to things, right? Like if Ronda Rousey came up to us, she could kick our butts, right?
Clearly.
And
I would let her.
But there's a lot of situations where a female at home by herself, she's at a very big disadvantage, especially if there's 2 or 3 males coming in. This is a great equalizer. I've heard people, the whole argument, I'm sure you've heard this argument before too. Well, I'd rather people just steal whatever's in my house because there's nothing in my house worth taking somebody's life. I tend to agree with the first part of that statement. There isn't, anything in my house that's worth taking somebody's life.
Correct.
But there's also nothing in anyone's house worth you going in and stealing and
Correct.
risking your own life for those kind of things. So
yeah, I think it's important, and Jay has a very good point. Is how valuable is your property, right? And of course, like they say, a man's home is his castle, right? You have, like, unfortunately, all the horrible events that happened last week, or a couple weeks ago with California fires.
Oh, yeah.
Totally devastating situation.
yeah, it's been going on since last week too. So.
We look at things like that, and yes, it's horrible to lose those family heirlooms, those photos from your kids growing up,
Yeah.
and but at the end of the day, your life is what's most important. And I think that
Right.
that protecting your life, I think, is key, and is very important. And I don't think anyone has the right to take anyone's life, right? And there are going to be situations where you have to defend your family. Like my kids, like when they were young, I mean, clearly they're adults now, but when they were young, imagine the position you're in when, you have your wife, you have your children that are small, and you have an intruder that comes in. You don't know what their intent is, you know? No one does. But do you want to risk not knowing what their intent is? I don't want to risk it.
No.
I don't want to put myself in a situation where we might not be able to come back from, right? And if they're willing to take someone's life for a VCR, I say VCR, but you guys probably don't know what that is. But like for a safe, for, some rings, some gold, and, people nowadays with fentanyl and everything going on, they're desperate. They'll take whatever it is. But if they're willing to risk their life over that, I think someone who's protecting their home should be very, very vocal about that. If you have an intruder, you have the times like, hey man, I have weapons, you need to step out of the house. I think you should give people the opportunity to get out, to pull out, because sometimes they'll put themselves in a situation, they're not thinking straight. Maybe they thought the house was empty, and all of a sudden you pop up with, a shotgun or an AR or something. They're like, oh man. And you don't give them that opportunity to retreat.
Right.
Now you're in a position where you're going to take someone's life, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the fact of that is like you have to live with that. Like no matter what it is that you're doing, no matter if it's defending your family, another citizen or another person, another human being, at the end of the day, you're going to have to deal with the fact that you took someone's life, and you have to be ready for that, right? And of course, at the moment, you're always going to be thinking, my family comes first. Priorities are priorities. But at the end of the day, you've taken a life, and you have to answer for that, whether in a spiritual way, in a moral way, and however you want to see it. So how do you deal with that? You know, and are you willing to go to that step? There's just came a report, I don't know if you've read it, in Arizona, the state of Arizona, we don't have enough state troopers to cover the night shift. There's only 2 counties being covered. It's Maricopa County and Pima County. That's it at night. That's it. We don't have any more DPS troopers to protect at night. So with the shortage of law enforcement, again, shout out to law enforcement, first responders, are doing a great job. Here's the thing, because of the bureaucracy, the politicians getting involved in law enforcement, you have all the brass that are not politicians, right? They don't want any kind of tarnish on their department. You're expendable. You're like, let's fire them. Bad call, you're fired, right? So a lot of people don't want to take that role anymore. People don't want to be law enforcement anymore. They'd rather go be a firefighter. I love you guys too. But, they'd rather go do that. Than deal with people out in the street, dealing with politicians, everything's gotten so bureaucratic that it's impossible. So because of that, more and more people, even our friends on the other side of the aisle, the liberals, are buying guns now. They just feel like it's necessary. Now look at, again, I hate to go back to that tragedy in California, but look at the looters. Look at during the whole riots thing that happened with BLM and all that stuff. All those people got tired of it. What were they doing? They were standing outside their businesses with weapons. Saying, you're not going to come in here. You're not going to fight. This is their people's livelihood. So,
remember the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing, you know? And I mean, we've talked about this in another episode before, and I had my personal opinion on it. I don't think he should have been over there.
Looking for trouble?
Well, in my opinion, and I'm glad the verdict came down the way it did. I think he had the right to protect himself. However, so right now, I've got a sidearm on me. In our state, I could legally go into a grocery store just like this. We have an open carry / concealed carry legality here that you don't need a special permit or anything like that for it. I see every once in a while people that are open carrying. I'm not really for that. Now, it's their right. They can do that. But the thing is that what do you get? You get people that start looking at you, stares. Why would you open carry? Are you some reason that you need that more than somebody else, it prompts the people on the bad side of the field to look at you and go, maybe because they have that, they have an agenda or they have wealth is necessary for them to do it. Now, again, it's their freedom. They can do that as they like, especially in this state. However, it draws attention to yourself. So stepping back to the Kyle Rittenhouse deal, you have this young man that goes down and innocently is helping a friend of his protect a car lot from being burnt down, right? And I mean, let's fast forward to now, you have the fires that are going on. If they could have been prevented, would you have wanted to prevent the fires that happened in LA or that are still happening? Of course. So that's what Kyle Rittenhouse and his buddy, what they were trying to do is prevent this car lot of his friends being burnt down. Now, if he would have stood there and told people to go away, I think the whole reactionary point would have been different than what was there when he was standing there just like this.
Yeah.
Right? So people observe you differently, and especially on the other side of the aisle, they look at somebody that has a weapon on them as
clearly there's a stigma
everybody else. There's a stigma
to having guns and being Caucasian.
Yeah.
Right? And it's horrible.
Thank goodness we're not Caucasian.
Oh, man. Yeah, I feel sorry for them Caucasians. But the thing is this, Jay, and perception is reality to people. You know, and we've talked about this in the past. You know, how we perceive things, to us, that's our reality, right? And so our outlook or our view of things is so skewed that we're ready to just point blame. If something goes wrong, it's like, it's because of this or because of that, you know.
Yeah.
And it's never the person or the issue that started it is never held accountable, or is never the one to blame. It's always the reactionary side of it that's to blame.
Right.
And unfortunately that's the society that we live in. And I think, again, like if you have a weapon, if we own weapons and we use them, or we're prepared to use them, and as difficult as that may be, because it's not easy. It's easy to point at a target and shoot at it, right? But it's not easy when at the end of that target, at the end of that barrel, is a human being.
And somebody breathing, right?
Right. It's totally different. Like the last thing you want to do is take that life. You want to plead with them. It's like, get out, you know?
Yeah.
But when they have something pointing right back at you, you don't know what it is. In reality, it's you or them.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the thing. It's just them at that moment. If you go down, guess what? Then your family's next.
Right.
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 And that's what you're thinking. That's as a human being, as a man, as a protector of your family, that's your first thought is, I don't care about me. I'll go down in the fight. But if I do, what's going to happen to my family? You know, and these are things that we look at. So the stigma that people have is, if you have guns, if you're prepared to use them, if you have these signs outside, you know, and they're funny, but I think it's in a way to tell people, you know, like, we don't call 911. We have two, you know, we call, you know, we call 9mm or whatever those funny signs are.
We call the morgue.
Yeah, we call the morgue. I think for us, because think about it, if you put a sign that's very serious, like there's guns in the house, one, you're a target, because now, like, oh, they got guns, let's go break in and take it,
and
right?
steal them, yeah.
So you put little jokes like that, saying like, hopefully they get the hint, and you wish for the best. But the stigma out there on our friends on the left is right away, they're like, they're racist, they hate minorities, they're ready to kill anybody. You know, they probably have a couch in their garage, they sit and drink, you know. Which I did, you know. I find nothing wrong with having a couch in the garage and eating.
Why is the TV in the garage bigger than the one in the living room?
You got more room, bro. You got more room.
Nicer fridge out there and everything else.
But you know, you have that stigma that people right away say that you're the lesser of society. You're a hillbilly. You're a redneck. You're racist. You're every horrible.
I resemble that comment.
You sure do resemble it, especially with that beard there, son. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying, and I think that we need to get away from that. We need to be able to, because let's be honest, you have a criminal on the other side who's willing to do anything for another hit of fentanyl, for a little puff on the crack pipe.
Right.
Whatever the case is, we don't know what it is. Or maybe desperation. They also have a family they have to feed, but they don't want to work, or they don't work, or they're felons already. Whatever the case is, I don't know what it is. And it's rude of me to just say they're criminals all the time. You know, even though they're committing a criminal act, it could be for different reasons.
Yeah.
I'm not good at hand-to-hand combat with a knife or something. If that guy's got a bat or a crowbar or even a pistol that, you know, a little 22, it's still going to kill you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not ready for that. I'd rather maintain that safe distance,
Right.
be vocal, let them know, hey man, you're coming to the wrong house, bro, get out.
Yeah.
You know, once you feel that's safe, they've left, call the police, you're done. You know,
Well, it's kind of one of those things, you know, like I know for my mom, so she has one of these at home, and I told her all you have to do is if you charge it, use the charging handle, you know. When you walk out on your porch, if somebody's coming up that looks shady or weird or what have you, that's kind of all you need to do normally. In movies, usually you see things like a shotgun, you know, and they're racking the shotgun for that effect, right? And
that's kind of like a warning.
It is.
They're like, oh my God, they got a weapon, right? Most of these AR-based platform guns, you don't have much unless you're, you know, you're going in the battery. You're gonna hear that noise. You're gonna hear that, you know, chamber. That's it. But most people don't do that. They just have them ready to go, put it on, you know, on fire. They have a lock. They got to take the lock off. There's so many things going on that, you know, you don't have that ability with these type of platforms.
Well, I have this one blacked out so nobody can see it in the middle of the night.
Even worse, right? Yeah. I got a light on mine. I got a little light on mine, just so they know. Yeah. Like, is it a flashlight? And why is there a red dot on it?
Why is there a red dot on it?
You know what I mean? So, but again, and why do we do that? I don't know if you ever shot in the dark.
Yeah.
And if you're in your house and it's dark.
Yeah, it's not easy to see.
You're not easy to see, right?
Period. So back in the day, there used to be a thing called a club that was put on the cars, right? On the steering wheel. Some of you may be too young to remember this, but so...
It was also a place you go to dance, but...
The club, yeah. You went.
Yeah.
So they learned that they were almost useless because you could actually you couldn't cut through the club, but you could cut through the steering wheel pretty quick and then just pull the club out. Yeah. The thing is it was a deterrent for the thieves. The thieves looked at it. The club, you know, or an alarm system was a deterrent. Can a thief get past all those? Yeah. But it's less things for them to have to get past if the car doesn't have an alarm or doesn't have a club on it, right?
Correct.
So kind of the same premise. If you're somebody that has that kind of criminal onset that's gonna go and steal a car, they're gonna go to the one with the least resistance. Same thing with the home invasion or anything else like that, robbery. They're gonna kind of try to go to the place with the least resistance because they don't wanna have to do any more than they have to do to get whatever that is, information, stuff, you know.
Yeah, well, the longer you're in somewhere stealing, the higher the risk of getting caught. Right. So you want to go in and out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's the thing. Like when you have deterrence in your house, and let's think about it. A lot of people buy these securities. You know how it is. Yeah. You buy a house, all of a sudden, all these salesmen come. I got this alarm system for you. You know, and then people buy the first year, and after that, they don't continue. Well, so all you have is just an alarm that's audible. But how easy is that to cut?
Oh yeah.
You know, you cut the horn, done.
Yeah, probably 40-something% of people have owned ADT.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And nowadays they have what's the one, Simply Safe. That's our sponsor today, Simply Safe. You know, it's one that you can move with you when you leave, and ADT, you can do that too, but it's a really easy setup one. There's no wires to run or anything like that. And a lot of people feel safer when they have something like that connected to their home, and it's a smart system where you can turn it on and turn it off with your phone, that kind of thing. So it's just deterrence, because if somebody wants to break in and hurt you, regardless if the alarm's buzzing off, regardless if your car alarm's going off, these are all just deterrents for people. And here's the thing, there's a severityness of people that want to do harm or steal or whatever it is. And we don't know, none of us know, what that severity level is of that person. Are they doing it because, like Joe said, trying to, you know, just survive and feed a habit, maybe, drugs or something like that?
Score their next hit.
Score their next hit. Or is it elevated to where they actually have mental issues, maybe brought on by drugs and things like that, to where they will take it to the next level? And that's the thing that's concerning for any of us, right? So, yeah, I think one of our things here today is, guys, if I could have a wish in the world, it would be where everybody that owned firearms used them for one thing, for sporting, right? For having fun. And firearms were never used as a instrument of weaponry, protection, death.
That's what the military's for.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of my point. There's so much evil in the world. We have entire militaries, right? We can get into that whole thing that governments are evil and, you know, send our boys and girls off to war. But I digress. The thing is that there's never going to be a time anywhere in the world, unless you bought an island and you could keep everybody away from it and not allow any kind of weapons.
Put a moat around,
guns, nothing. Yeah. And at that point, it goes back to Cain and Abel, somebody's going to pick up a rock and hit somebody in the head because at one point or another, somebody's going to commit a violent act, and unfortunately, it's human nature.
And with the populace growing ever so fast every day, days are gone where we had those little 2-3 acre properties where you had another neighbor maybe 6 miles down the road, and even then you're way out there. So we have to consider the fact that you have to have a quick response. You have to be able to quickly get up there and eliminate any kind of threat that might be happening or that can happen, but always with the thought that it's a deterrent, never to actually be ready to take a life, because I think that in itself is very difficult to do, and that's something that people have to live with. So I think it's important that, one, we have that right to defend ourselves. And as it says, defend ourselves, and not to be going out there and be a threat to society, be a menace to society. But you want to be someone who, first off, if you have a weapon or you own weapons, then clearly you're a good citizen, right? Because you're able to buy them, you purchase them, and have them around. So that's a good thing. But second of all, you want to manage your resources correctly. So one, they're well secured, right? You of course you always should have one ready at the ready. That should also be secured from children. All right. I think one thing that I taught my kids at early age is gun safety. We would take them out to the range and show them how to shoot, to be out there shooting and enjoying things like that. My son, my oldest, was in the military, so clearly he knows how to use a weapon. My middle boy, he'd go out there with when he lived out here. We'd go out shooting, and he knows how to do it. My daughter, she also knows how to shoot. She wants a handgun, for protection.
Yeah.
But that's how you raise your kids with the thought that this is for self-defense. This is for protection. You're not going to be those guys I'm sure you guys seen them in the tickety talk and the YouTubes where you have that escalation of force because someone cut you off going down the road, right? We had just had that fatal shooting on the freeways here in Arizona where there was some type of road rage and one dude shoots the other and kills him, right? That's the kind of thing
I saw that. That was on the 10 freeway.
And see, that's the kind of thing that makes gun owners look like crap.
Yeah.
Like, guys, why? First off, I understand self-defense. You're able to carry a weapon here in Arizona. Conceal carry is good. But again, just because someone cut you off is not a purpose. It's not a reason. It's not an excuse to use a firearm. People like that clearly should not own a gun. Right. People with anger issues should not be owning weapons like that. Because the escalation is crazy. And I say the same thing about people who have anger issues shouldn't be getting married, right? Because marriage is a challenge. Yeah. And so these are things that you want to avoid. Yeah. It's like, if you're not a good swimmer, do you want to go take a dive in the middle of the ocean? Probably not.
Probably not.
You know what I mean? If you don't know how to grill, do you want to really want to be the one hosting the barbecue?
Right.
Probably not there, buddy.
Right. But it comes
common
back,
sense.
It comes back to the whole thing of, we live in a free country. People that are terrible cooks still buy cookware. People that are terrible drivers still buy cars. We've got to understand that that's part of what everything is. And as a responsible person, like I know here, we were talking to somebody earlier about child learning to drive.
Right.
So it now costs money to take your child to driving services. So what do people do now? Well, they take their kid out on dirt roads and
teach them how to drive.
And they teach them how to drive. Well, that's technically legal, right?
As long as there's a licensed driver.
Yeah.
You're able to do that.
Well, the thing is if they don't even have their permit or whatever, and they're trying to teach them how to drive. Now, permit and everything starts to change stuff. But a lot of times, these are things that people have to do to be able to survive and get their child to be able to drive and such. And there's so many other instances of that where, just like with guns, you need to take your kids out and teach them a little bit of safety and stuff like that. When I was a kid,
fire safety?
When I was a kid, my dad would first started allowing me to shoot his .22 rifle, right? That was the first thing he did. And then he got me my own rifle, but it was a pellet rifle. He treated that just like it was a normal rifle. So if I started, like he told me to keep my, finger off the trigger even back then. If I started waving this thing around, flagging anybody, boy, he'd smack me in the head right away. So he was very, very conscientious of me making sure that I knew what was downrange, and when you talk about gun safety, where do you point the gun?
Downrange.
Yeah. And the number one thing is always in the safest direction, right? Whatever that may be. perhaps the safest direction is straight up, right? You should never point your gun up. However, if it's some weird situation where you've got a second floor below you, you've got people all around you, and nothing above you, that may be the safest direction to point your weapon. Like Joe said, in a place like this, downrange, if you look at our setup right here, we have all of our weapons pointed the same way. The one that's on our body is pointed towards the ground, right? It's the basically safest directions anything can be. Even when...
And as you're walking, then your toe might...
Yeah. And then just know, if your bolt's closed, if you have one in the chamber and all that kind of stuff. We're not going to do a video on...
Yeah, you guys know. If you guys listen to this podcast, you guys know how to use guns.
Yeah.
Who we fooling?
Yeah, who we fooling? And there's plenty of, I'm trying to think, Demolition Ranch and Hickok 45. I mean, there's tons of videos out there that you guys can go to.
It's not us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, don't listen to us.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, these guys are really great with their safety and just knowledge of guns. We're big, advocates of the 2A, and then also love collecting and having a good time.
We sure do. We sure do. But I think it's really important that we understand the importance of having that right, because it is a right. Yeah, that you have that we are given to own weapons, right? To have them to protect our homes, to protect our family, and a lot of people use it for the wrong reasons, or they're doing the wrong things with it, and that's ridiculous. Like the last thing, as a gun owner, for me, I think the last thing I want to do is people know that I have a gun. That's the last thing I want people to know.
Well, when you were out there shooting in the first part of the episode, like I said, I was talking about concealed carry and open carry in this state is all fully legal, right? Yeah. This is just my personal thing. If you're love to open carry every day, that's your God-given right here in this state. I'm not a big fan of that. I think the only people that should really open carry is just law enforcement. And if you want to...
And Wyatt Earp. I think Wyatt Earp.
And Wyatt Earp, yeah. If you want to carry... concealed carry, because the thing is you have that element of surprise. Again, it goes back to the whole Kyle Rittenhouse deal, that you have a young man that drew a lot of attention to himself, unfortunately, and it caused a lot of headache and and a lot of stuff for a lot of people. I mean, he had a lot of terrible stuff happen that day, and I hate to see that for anybody. So but again, he didn't do anything, really he didn't do anything wrong, but...
Well, the law says he didn't.
Yeah, the law says he didn't, but again, opinions and everything, making sure that you...
Well, the thing is, you don't want to put yourself in a situation that could be volatile. Right. Right, and you put yourself in a corner, and now you're forced to... See, and I think that's very important. I think that's something that I've always advocated is, like, if you're going to put yourself in a situation where you're forced to use a weapon, whose fault is it now? You know what I mean? Right. Like, don't put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't corner yourself.
The number one, so there's 10 basic rules, and again, go to a different YouTube channel if you want to hear all the rules and everything.
Don't come to ours.
But there's 10 basic rules of when do you actually fire upon someone, meaning when is it appropriate for you to, let's say you have a sidearm. Joe's got a sidearm right now, and you are pulling your gun out of your holster, pointing it, and pulling the trigger.
Pew-pew.
When is it appropriate to do that? There's 10 steps before you get to that. The very first step, and this a lot of people get wrong. What is the very first step that you do before doing all of that? It is to get away from the situation, whatever that is, whether it's run, whether it's hide. You want to be able to get away from that situation completely and not pull your gun and not tell them that you have a weapon and none of that.
And we're not talking at home. We're talking like out in the street,
Right. So, yeah, obviously at home things change quite a bit if somebody's
because you have the stand your ground law
breaking into your home. But, so yeah, that's the first thing, is to get yourself out of that situation completely before anything escalates. We're not here to play cop. We're not here to be the military or anything like that. If it comes down to it, like Joe said earlier, we are here 100% to take care of our families, protect our families. You watching on the screen, who's the most important person or people in your life?
Besides us.
Besides us, yeah. Come here every week, so keep coming back, and thank you for that, by the way. The most important person in your life, think about it. And what would you do to protect them from harm? Whether that's firearms, whether it's a katana.
Oh my God.
You go swinging at the front door, a baseball bat,
Machete.
you know, a machete, yeah, a kitchen knife, a bucket of rocks, whatever it is, you know, snap gun, something that
Rocks in a sock.
rocks in a sock. You know, there's one that's out right now.
Potatoes in a sock. Those are good too.
Potatoes in the sock.
I'll leave a lot of bruising.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how I know these things, right?
A block of soap. Yeah, that's the prison.
Soap on a rope. Oh, wrong episode. Sorry.
You know, whatever it would take. Obviously, you would take care of your family, so it's really important.
Yeah, and like Jay said, you know, don't put yourself in situations. Follow the law. The law says you can't enter a bar with a weapon. Don't leave it in your car. I myself have a lockbox in my own car. Jay has one in his, and we're very conscientious because someone steals your car, now they got your weapon. Right. So lock it up. You know what I mean? Yeah. I have all kinds of, I got GPS in my truck, so I know exactly what my truck is. Someone gets stolen. I got them in my gun cases.
I do too. Yep.
So all those things are very everything's
yeah.
important. You know, so it's again, don't put yourself in situations
Maybe we shouldn't
like
have
that.
told everybody that.
Nah, I want you to know. That's
yeah.
it.
Don't try to take it from me.
Because I'm going to use this video so my insurance is like, no, I said it. It's on my video. I got GPS. I did everything I can to protect my property. But, you know, the important thing, again, is don't put yourself in a situation you know could turn volatile, because then you're forced into a corner. You're backed into a wall where you have no other option. Your only use of force is going to be to fire your weapon.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that. You want to, like Jay said, you know, if you're out in the streets, man, retreat, get in your car, get out. You know, don't pick a fight. If you're carrying concealed carry, don't pick a fight, man. Just be smart about it.
Right.
You know, live. I mean, come on, man. The days of trying to act cool in front of your girl are gone, right? Everybody now, you know, most guys now carry little clutches and, you know, got little fanny packs, look really cute, you know, and so, you know, the manly men have gone, my friend.
Yeah, and the thing is, those single slings are great because you can.
I have a single sling, so I do have a big fanny pack.
Yeah, you can hide your sidearm right there. Yeah, there's some really great companies, guys. If you are interested, you know, I do a ton of research on different companies that are out there.
He really does, guys. Jay is like a research phenomenon.
Nerd.
This guy.
So. There's a company called, like Joe was talking earlier, Console Vault. They're a great company. And we're not sponsored by them or anything, but they make custom consoles that go in, I should say a vault that goes into your console and in your truck, and they're custom made for your model of vehicle. Mm-hmm. They have keys or they have a combo style.
Yeah, they have the thumb ones.
Yeah, the biometric.
Yeah, biometric. Sorry for the Mexican slang there. I got the damn thumb thing right there. You know what I mean? Put your little thumb and beep, beep, beep.
There's another company called Secure It Safe Company, and they make safes that are really, really light that you can take with you. And if you live in an apartment or something like that, obviously you can't have we won't mention the one company that got into trouble, but there's a lot of those big safe companies that it takes 15 guys to move the safe in.
If you're wondering, look back at our old episodes. We talked about it.
Yeah, they are personally named. So there's a lot of that going on. But listen, guys, just be safe out there and everything. Sun's going down, so Joe and I are going to get to some shooting here.
We sure are.
Yeah, just definitely. Thanks for showing up again, and join us next Tuesday. As we always say, make sure you take care of one another.
Do better, be better.
And as always,
God bless America. We'll see you next week, guys. We're going to go do some pew-pew.
Yeah.